It's the far-off future of 2062, and the evil Mortician and CEO of Dead Inc. has attacked Monstro City with his army of psychotic, psychogenic, cryogenic mutants. And only the Military Ascertainment Department, MAD for short, has a team good enough to take him on. It's time to call in the Skeleton Krew. And welcome to Goldfish on Games. Developed by Core Design, this was released for the Amiga 1200 and CD32, which I have here, and the MegaDrive, which I don't. And it was released in 1995. In the big box A1200, we get the game on just 3 discs, with the story being told in this scratchy art comic strip. And interesting to note, they included a picture and instructions on how to use a MegaDrive pad with the game. And for this video, we'll be using a mix of all 3 versions. And they all start with the same simple but workable menu. Where you can select between a few different control methods, and you will want to check them out. And after deciding if it's going to be solo or 2-player, we get to pick the operative we want to use, and it goes with the standard trio. Joint is the slow and tanky one. Rib is the fast but with lower health, and then we have Spine, the in-betweener. The MegaDrive then gives us this nicely done animated sequence where the Amiga, well, it's just right into the action. Where we find an isometric shooter, and it is quite the looker, if you enjoy its very particular art style. The heavy metal, Geiger-esque 90s grimdark sense all going on here. And how much you enjoy this game will come down to if you find a control method that clicks with you, as Core have attempted to solve the move and shoot in a different direction problem in a few different ways. Now on a 2-button joystick or pad, which I really recommend you use, it goes with the following. 1 button shoots while rotating you in one direction, and the second shoots while rotating you in the opposite direction. And if you hold down both buttons, then it will lock in a single one. Now these buttons will also do double duty as change weapon and jump, which is triggered by a double tap. Now the default on the MegaDrive is a little different, as only 1 button fires, but the other 2 will make you rotate in either direction while you're firing, or handle the additional actions when you're not. And if this doesn't click with you, then you can check out the huge range of options that they have, including various 6-button ones. But none of them are going to be as good as a twin stick setup. But I do think it's good that they tried. And I have to admit, while the defaults might feel a bit weird to start with, once it clicked with me, I actually thought it was better than most of the other attempts that I've seen. You will come across a number of goals as you make your way through the game, but the most common one is just head to the exit, with there being many grunts and things blocking your path. In Monstro City, you'll find the odd laser door that will require you to take out a control box that's usually not too far away. It also has a mid-boss that you'll have to shoot down before you can move on, which is impressively large on the MegaDrive, even if it is missing the destructible walls of the Amiga version. Now the CD32 Edition? Well, it is a little bit of a letdown. There's no extra levels, no updated graphics, or even an animated intro. All we really get is CD audio. But it does play during the levels, which we don't get on the Amiga version, as it just had to make do with ambient sounds. But I will say it does make very good use of the CD32 controller, as there's now dedicated buttons to switch weapons and jumping. But considering the console had been out of production for almost a year by this point, it's amazing that they even brought it out. Borrowing a trope from the belt scroller beat-em-ups, we have an elevator shaft, with enemies that will show up that you'll have to deal with. But every so often, it will stop and a door will open up, leading you to a room full of more baddies that you'll also have to deal with. Really, this level is just dealing with things. And it's by this point you might start to notice things, like the lack of any health pickups. Not even finishing a level will restore it, so every hit you take is permanent. Now this does mean you'll have to rely on your lives and continues far more, which is where the cash, comes into play, as it is used for points, and points mean extra lives. And you might have also guessed, there are no weapon upgrades, power-ups or anything like that in this game. All you have is just you, your mate and the two guns, the standard laser and the grenades. Now, the grenades aren't all that useful all the time, but there are a few situations, like this level, where they do come into their own, as it allows you to take on the weird creatures that keep bubbling up through the water very easily. And when you head down as far as we did, the only place that would welcome us is the jungle. And it is a place of infinitely spawning flies and tentacles that are the main things that you'll have to deal with. That and some platforming, which admittedly is very light as it's mostly trying to get you from one floor to another. You can't fall down pits or anything like that here. But now this level is broken up into smaller chunks, and I find it's actually easier to ignore most of the baddies and just run for the exit doors. Ironically, this game doesn't feel as fleshed out as its art style. The lack of power-ups, upgrades, or even something to break up the gameplay makes this feel a little rushed, if not outright unfinished. As looking at previews for the game, they talk about having far more in this title. Vehicles and jetpacks were mentioned, along with having more weapons to use. They also said they had levels that were going to be auto-scrollers. And they also mentioned passwords, a feature that the MegaDrive version got, but the Amiga didn't. But between the collapse of the Commodore, as well as the fact that the market for 16-bit titles was really starting to slow down, I can only assume that any hope they had for a whole franchise with this game went up in smoke, and they just put together what they had finished. Due to a process that isn't explained and I don't quite understand, going through the jungle has gotten us to the red planet, Mars, where things look very different to what I expected. Now here we get a single large map that we have to explore, as the goal is to find all the pyramids and blow them up, and they are quite well hidden, more so in the MegaDrive release. Now I couldn't really say which version I think of the game is best. The Amiga version does look more detailed, and even when a lot is going on, it never slows down. But the MegaDrive, well, it has more animations, especially with the backgrounds, as well as a greater range of graphics for the basic enemies, even if they are all the same. Now this obviously would have been far better if all versions were given more time in development, but with those next-gen consoles coming out quite soon, I can see why this was released in the state it was, which is shown a little by the fact that this is level 4 of 6, so there isn't a lot of content here. But they have tried to make up for that by massively bumping up the difficulty with each level. continuing the theme of how did we get here, we've ended up on Venus. And finding the various doors in this main hall is what we need to do, as we'll find more generators that we need to take out. And we actually see the closest thing that we get to those reported jetpacks, where these vents have air that pushes us up. And I can see why this would have been a really cool feature if they managed to get it in. As while the basic gameplay is decent, it doesn't really do anything new. And all the time you're playing it, you can see flashes of what could have been an amazing game. But then, this title is full of odd choices. Like, why did they go with this trip-hop style soundtrack rather than the more expected heavy metal one? That's not to say the music is bad, it's just unexpected. And then we get on to the final level, which is where things really diverge between the two main platforms, as the MegaDrive gets a whole extra level, well, half a level at least, as it's not exactly long, but it is something, where all the Amiga version got was just a corridor and then the final boss, the evil Mortician. And the first half is actually the same. It's more annoying than fun, as once you take down his shields, he'll start to just teleport around the map, and he doesn't stick around for very long. But after you've blasted him through a wall, well, the Amiga version just ends. But the Sega machine, well, it gets something extra, a second half to this boss fight, with again a large and interesting creature for you to attack. Even if it is mostly a case of shoot at it until it stops moving, and then shoot at it some more, just to be sure. But you then get one last choice to make. Do you take them in alive, or waste them here and now? You'll have to play it to find out what the results are. As I do think you should give this a go. It's obviously not the best game ever made, and it's not even the best core game on either system, but it is a fun if brainless shooter, and it's even more fun if you get a mate to help you. It has this great art style, thumping music, all wrapped up in a very unique package. It's just a shame there doesn't seem to be any digital release of the title, so if you do want to play it, you'll have to track down a copy yourself. And until next time, I was the Goldfish, that was the grimmest, darkest of games, and this was Goldfish on Games. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look as a bit of an odd game. And if you enjoyed this, then consider liking, subscribing, and all that YouTube stuff that they make us say. Or you could check out another one of my videos, as there will be links on the screen right now.